Hey ya, 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 hey ya. So this is Daniel 12:4. The many different versions here. You can pause it if you like. Choose the one you like. And it says here in the first one, King James Version, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." Get another version here. "But as for you, Daniel, conceal these words and seal up the scroll until the end time. Many will go back and forth and search anxiously through the scroll, and knowledge of the purpose of God as revealed by his prophets will greatly increase." And the last version here, and the last one. "But you, Daniel, must keep these words secret. Seal the scroll until the end time. Many will stray far, but knowledge will increase." So, I'm glad you're all here taking this journey with me still. And is knowledge increasing? Are we increasing our knowledge? Is the truth coming out? What was the whole Maya calendar end time all about? Was it about destruction or new beginning? Were they trying to put fear in you? Yes, I do believe so. So we have a good video here. I hope you guys find this very interesting. You should. I mean, this is history, and it's all also going to connect to your ancestors, who you are, right? Things they've been hiding. So we're going to talk about, the city of David and Jerusalem. And how does this connect to Cusco and Peru and Saksaywaman, the site that is there, with megalithic stones? And there's a lot of mysteries here. But how does this connect with the city of David in Jerusalem? Alright, so right here, if you can see, just a brief of what I'm going to be talking about. This is one of the topics, is basically how Jerusalem is described. It is described to have 3 walls, just like Saksaywaman. And the city of David is also described to have a fortress, and to have a citadel, a tower, and it's fortified. So Saksaywaman is also like that. Another important point would be the Mio, or the Milo, or Milo, right? And it's mentioned in the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel 5:9, as a part of the city of David. It's something he expanded as well. In the bottom right here of this page, you can see that it was it was in the list of repairs, Ezekiel, according to the Bible, as a military activity, such as a tower or citadel. And we have Muyumarca, very close to Millo is Muyu, Muyu, right? And happens also to be a place. It's round, just like described in the city of David, the Millo roundabout, with reservoir, fountain, waterways, aqueducts, same way. And it also used to have a tower, citadel. Saksaywaman is described as a citadel. So we also find a very strong correlation with the reference to the navel of the earth, or the navel of the world, the Bellybutton of the world, in Jerusalem, also in reference to Mount Sion. And Cusco actually literally translates to navel of the world. So yes, like we've been seeing in the past videos, there is a very strong possibility that everything you read about in the Old Testament or ancient books happened on this side of the earth. Yes, the Americas. Backwards. Everything is backwards. The way they have society, everything has been flipped over. The maps, history, they got you spinning on a globe, so you're all confused. Alright, but that's why we're reawakening, and we're trying to all just come together, because everything returns to order. So how far-fetched is this idea of Jerusalem and Mount Sion in America or Peru? I'd like for you to put your attention into this book here in the background, by Christopher Columbus. It's called Book of Prophecies. And where do we find this book, and what does it say? Well, we just have to go to their historical buildings, their libraries, and this is the Biblioteca Colombina in Spain. This ain't just any library, okay? This is where they kept the records and history of Spain. And it says, amongst the earliest and most fascinating witnesses to the later is a manuscript of 84 folios dated between September 13th, 1501 and March 23rd, 1502, and now preserved in the Biblioteca Colombina in Sevilla. Alright, this is the book. And it's right here in Biblioteca Colombina in Spain. Okay, and this is just not, this ain't just any place. Look at it. So, let's read what this Book of Prophesies says, written by Columbus. And it says here, it begins, this is the beginning of the book or collection of authorities, sayings, opinions, and prophecies concerning the need to recover the holy city and Mount Zion, and the discovery and conversion of the islands of the Indies and all peoples and nations for Ferdinand and Isabella, our Spanish rulers. And it says, this manuscript, commonly known as El Libro de Profecías, the Book of Prophecies, was compiled by Christopher Columbus himself in collaboration with Gaspar Gorizio, a Carthusian monk of Italian origin who belonged to the monastery of Santa Maria de las Cuevas in Sevilla. Okay, so what did it say, man? He's going to America. Columbus, right? He's clearly saying he's going to America to recover the holy city. What is the holy city? It has to be Jerusalem, right? What is the holy city? And Mount Zion, all right? Mount Zion. He's going to America to recover the holy city in Mount Zion, okay? Mount Zion, right? So let's dig into this. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies and the dwelling of the Lord, and Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other. So again, it's telling us in Jubilee 8:19 that Mount Zion is considered the center of the navel of the earth. Now you're probably not going to find this in your Bible because this is an apocryphal book. And if you don't know what that means, it means that certain books were left out. Certain books were edited out. There's a lot of different versions of Bibles all over the world. So let's look into this word apocryphal or apocrypha. So when we look up the etymology of the word apocryphal, we get this. So let's read it. Apocrypha, late 14th century apocrypha, in reference to the apocryphal books of the Bible, from late Latin apocrypha, scripto, from neuter, plural of apocryphos, meaning secret, not approved for public reading. Okay, not approved for public reading. You can't read it. All right, they took it out of the Bible. It's not approved for you. From the Greeks apokryphos, hidden, obscure, hard to understand. So it was too much knowledge for you. They was like, nah, they can't have this. So let's take this book out. Let's leave this one in. Thus, books of unknown authorship. Oh, we don't know who wrote this. Let's not put it in there. Especially those included in the Septuagint and Vulgate, but not originally written in Hebrew and not counted as genuine by the Jews. What Jews? Jewish? Or are they talking about the Hebrews or the Jewish? Those who are acting like Hebrews. That's why they're called Jewish. From apo, off, away. Krypton, to hide. Non-biblical sense, writing of doubtful authorship or authenticity. It's from 1735. Okay, so apocrypha, as you see, secret, not approved for public reading. You can't read this. But if you're not convinced that they took this out on purpose, I'm going to show you that there's a lot of people still using it, and it has been used throughout history a lot. Just like many of the books that have been considered apocryphal. So it's the Book of Jubilees, sometimes called Lesser Genesis. It's an ancient Jewish religious work of 50 chapters, considered canonical by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as well as the Beta Israel Ethiopian Jews, where it is known as the Book of Division, the Giz Met Kafule. Jubilees is considered one of the pseudepigrapha by Protestant, Roman Catholic, and Eastern Orthodox churches. It was well known in early Christians as evidenced by the writings of Epiphanius, Justin Martyr, Origen, Diodorus of Tarsus, Isidore of Alexandria, Isidore of Seville, Eutychius of Alexandria, John Malalas, George Syncellus, and George Kedrinos. The text was also utilized by the community that originally collected the Dead Sea Scrolls. No complete Hebrew, Greek, or Latin version is known to have survived. The Book of Jubilees claims to present the history of division of the days of the law, of the events of the years, weeks, the jubilees of the world, as revealed to Moses, in addition to the Torah instruction by angels while he was on Mount Sinai, for 40 days and 40 nights. The chronology given by Jubilees is based on multiples of 7. The Jubilees are periods of 49 years, 7-year weeks, into which all time has been divided. Well, so it's a known book and it's official, right? Like you see all the churches that mess with all the religions that use it. And this is a Jubilees, Book of Jubilees, chapter 8. This part is the genealogy of the descendants of Shem. Noah and his sons divide the earth, right? So this is again part 10 of chapter 8 of Jubilee, the Book of Jubilee. And it says here, from 10 to 12. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts, for Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each in the first year, in the first week, when one of us, who had been sent, was with them. And he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into lots, right, lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth their hands and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah, their father. And this is a very important part right here. And there came forth on the writing as Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons for the generations of eternity. From the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina. Again, so Shem got the middle of the earth, right? Out of the 3, he got the middle of the earth. And I guess, most scholars, most religious leaders would agree that, David, right, is from the line or the descendant of the line of Shem. So Shem got the middle of the earth. I'm telling you, city of David is in Cusco. How does Cusco relate to the middle of the earth or the navel of the earth? Let me show you. And it says here, the meaning of Cusco was the key to the puzzle. So it says further down here, of course, it's the city in Peru, former capital of the Inca Empire. From Quechua, Inca, literally navel, and figurative, meaning center of the world, as the navel is the center of the body. So it says, Cusco meaning center of the world, the navel. Is not this the same words that Sion was called in the Book of Jubilees? And again, and he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of the Lord in Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. Okay, Jubilee 8:19. Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. City of Cusco, here we go. At the breathtaking elevation of 11,200 feet, the city of Cusco was not just the capital of Tiwanaku, land of the 4 quarters. In the Inca name for the empire, their native language Quechua was an axis mundi, the center of existence, and a reflection of Inca power. This is Jerusalem. I have set her at the center of the nations. Ezekiel 5:5. So, and again, Ezekiel 38:12 says, the Jewish people are referred to as the people who live at the center of the world. And actually, the literal Hebrew reads the navel of the world. Historical note. In Quechua means the earth's navel. Cusco means the earth's navel. Used to be the center of the Inca Empire. Where was the city of David? Saksaywaman. What did we just talk about? So it says again, Saksaywaman was built overlooking the Inca navel of Cusco. The fortress is composed of 3 large terraced walls. Now again, 2 Samuel 5:7. But David did capture the fortress of Sion, which then became David's city. So before it was the city of David, it was Sion, Mount Sion, right? Mount Sion, right? Mount Sion in the center of the navel of the earth. And on the Book of Jubilees again, chapter 8, verse 19, we see, and he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of the Lord in Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Sion, the center of the navel of the earth. So what was the city of David called before it was called City of David? Sion, Mount Sion. And what is Cusco called? The navel of the earth. And where is Saksaywaman? In Cusco, right? And we're calling Saksaywaman the city of David. And it says here in Mount Sion, the center of the navel of the earth. These 3 were created as holy places facing each other. It says here, Cusco, the navel of the world. Cusco is an international city located in the Andes Mountains of the Peruvian Sierra. Cusco was the center of the Incan Empire and the navel of the world for its citizens. Alright, so are we seeing a trend here? So let's keep corroborating. It says here, in several 15th century woodcuts from Ravenna, for instance, the world was divided into 3 parts. Jerusalem was in the center. So Jerusalem was in the center again, just like Cusco, just like Sion, just like the city of David, center of the world. And that choice was governed by either religious order or religious cosmology. Okay, and continue here. It says, although it would be difficult to ascertain when between 1540 and 1585, Sagagun drew the TO map. There is enough evidence to believe that as early as 1540, world maps were produced in which the surface of the earth was depicted with the Atlantic Ocean rather than the Mediterranean, and Jerusalem in the center. Jerusalem in the center, like Cusco, considered center as well. And a little bit down here, just to continue, it says in Wikipedia regarding the as follows. We'll talk about that soon, but the one in Jerusalem says here in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, it represents in Christian medieval tradition the navel of the world, the spiritual and cosmological center of the world. Okay. So you see here more corroborating evidence. I'm going to continue. It says Jewish tradition held that God revealed himself to his people through the Ark of the Covenant in the Temple of Jerusalem, which rested on the foundation stone, making the center of the world. So the Ark of the Covenant's been there. We're saying that Jerusalem is Cusco and City of David. So there is a reference of the Ark going to the City of David because it's a fortress. We also said that Saksaywaman is also a fortress, is heavily fortified, had a citadel, had a tower, just like the City of David had a tower where they took the Ark of the Covenant. And we're going to read later on how heavily fortified this site was, Saksaywaman, especially this part of the Milo where the towers were. How the Spanish described it, to have so much military weapons, and it was just heavily fortified. They were like ready for war. So what other place would be best for a place to bring the Ark of the Covenant if this is the City of David? You know, that basically is exactly how one was a military fort, and so was the City of David. Okay, on top of it being religious locations for both cultures. It says here, according to the Inca oral history, Tupac Inca, right? Tupac Inca remembered that his father, Pachacuti, had called city of Cusco the Lion City. Right, so I'm telling you that the City of David is in Cusco, right? We just heard Tupac saying that he remembers his father telling him that the city of Cusco was called the City of Lion, or the Lion City. And we know that, that the tribe of Judah, which they say David is from, which you can see here, it can be found in Matthew 1, verses 2 to 6. And you can see down here as well as the lion is a symbol of the tribe of Judah. It is often represented in Jewish art, such as the sculpture outside of the synagogue. So again, more corroborating information. Let's continue with the description of the city according to Tupac.
He said that tail was where the two rivers unite, which flowed through it, and that the body was the great square, and that the house is rounded, and that the heed was wanton. The Inca decided the best head would be to make a fortress on a high plateau to the north of the city. So they made a fortress high above the city, north of the city. Okay, so Josephus describes Jerusalem. It says there's the upper part where the citadel, the fortress is. Okay, the upper market, whatever they call it now.
So let's continue here with Cusco. So it says here in another part of Wikipedia regarding the kingdom of Cusco. It says Cusco was long an important center of the indigenous people. It was the capital of the Inca Empire, 13th century. Many believe that the city was planned as an effigy in the shape of a puma or sacred animal. Well, we don't believe anymore. We're trying to connect everything and know, right? So we know that Tupac said it was the lion city, not believe it was puma. It was the lion city, okay? And it continues. How Cusco was specifically built or how its large stones were quarried and transported to the site remain undetermined. They don't know. Of course, they're never gonna know, man. You know, they don't know anything. Under the Inca, the city had two sections. All right, very important. Remember, there's two sections. So Cusco, the city of Cusco had two sections, the Urin and the Hanan, each divided to encompass two of the four provinces, Chichasuyu, Antisuyu, Kuntisuyu, and Kuyasuyu. A road led from each of the quarters to the corresponding quarter of the empire. So again, two sections, just like Jerusalem, you're going to see it was divided in two sections, upper and lower, just like Saksaywaman is a little bit higher than Cusco.
It says here, in reciting the history of the city of Jerusalem, Leon Uris in his book Jerusalem says, of all the cities founded by the ancients, Jerusalem alone retains her ancient glory and her special relationship to God. Page 14. Then it says David envisioned it as the center. Who? David. Who've been talking about? David. The city of David, right? Where is it? Cusco. Okay. Envision it as the center of the earth. A unique and sacred place, the link between man and God. Says the Jewish people, again, listen to me, are referred to as the people who live at the center of the world. And actually the literal Hebrew reads the navel of the world. Cusco, literally translated, means navel. The capital of the Inca Empire was situated at Cusco, high in the Andes. Tradition states that the city was founded according to the geomantic principles. It says here, Jerusalem, as the capital of the Holy Land, Jerusalem is called the Earth Navel. Jerusalem is said to consist of 7 hills, the number of God's perfection on earth. The city is divided into two main sections, again, the lower city to the east and the upper city to the west. Okay? Again, upper and lower, just like Saksaywaman and Cusco, right? Upper and lower. The city was divided into two sections, Hanan, upper or high, and Hurin, lower, just like Jerusalem, which paralleled the social organization of Inca society into upper and lower moiety social divisions. The upper city was formerly known as the land of Moriah, where God led Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. Abraham called the place Jehovah Jireh, translated Jehovah will provide. The lower city was known as Salem, translated peace, Salem, right? So what's under Saksaywaman is Cusco, right? And it says, so the lower city is called Salem, so Jerusalem, right? Translated peace. Melchizedek, meaning king of righteousness, was its earliest recorded king and priest. When Joshua entered the promised land to conquer it for Israel, the Amorites had united the upper and lower cities. In Hebrew it is called Jerusalem, Shalayim, a plural word reflecting the fact that it was two cities.
So, yeah, let's continue with the name here, Jerusalem, right? So the names of Jerusalem, according to Wikipedia, refers to the multiple names by which the city of Jerusalem has been known and the etymology of the word in different languages. According to the Jewish Midrash, Jerusalem has 70 names. Lists have been compiled of 72 different Hebrew names for Jerusalem in Jewish scripture. Today, Jerusalem is called Yerushalayim in Hebrew. This is a derivation of a much older name, recorded as early as in the Middle Bronze Age, which has however been repeatedly reinterpreted in folk etymology, notably in Biblical Greek. So you hear that that's just a derivation of an original name. So it's not really the real name. So let's continue. Look what it says. So notably in Biblical Greek, where the first element of the name came to be associated with Hierus, right? Hierus, Hierus. You can make the H silent. Perus, holy, right? Holy, a sacred place, a holy place. Irus. The most common name in Arabic are Al-Quds and Beit al-Maqdis, meaning the holy or city home. And let's continue here. So Jerusalem is the name most commonly used in the Bible and the name used by most of the Western world. The biblical Hebrew form is Yerushalayim, adopted in biblical Greek as Hierosolym, or Jerusalem, or Hierosolyma, and in early Christian Bibles as Syriac Ursilem, as well as Latin Hierosolyma or Jerusalem. In Arabic, this name occurs in the form Ursalim. So you hear all these pronunciations, the way they say it. There's no J there. J wasn't around during those times, so you could almost make the H silent. Jerusalem. P also can become silent in the word Peru. Jerusalem. Very similar. Let's continue. The name Shalem, whether as a town or a deity, is derived from the same root as the word shalom, meaning peace, so that the common interpretation of the name is now the city of peace, or an adobe of peace. The end in ajim indicates the dual in Hebrew. Listen to this. Thus leading to suggestion that the name refers to the two hills on which the city sits. Again, two different parts of the city, upper and lower, just like Saksaywaman. So in this dictionary from 1898, we have a description of Hierosolym, right? We're going to start out right here where it says, the lower city was taken and burned by the children of Judah after the death of Joshua. But the Jebusites had so strongly fortified themselves in the upper city on Mount Sion, right, lower city, upper city, right? In the upper city is where they were fortified, where they had the tower and the fortress, right? Just like Saksaywaman is on the upper part and Cuzco is in the lower part, or Jerusalem. That they maintained themselves in possession of it till the time of David. That monarch, after his 7 years rule over Judah and Hebron, a lot of people are linking this to Tiwanaku in Bolivia, the ancient city of Hebron, and because of the king of Anak, so Tiwanaku Anak. So that would be a future video that I will be uploading soon. Became king of all Israel, on which he expelled the Jebusites from Mount Sion and established here the metropolis of his kingdom. The city now took the name of Jerusalem, or Yerushalayim, a term which denotes the abode of peace, or according to another derivation, the people of peace. According to Yaqub, the Mohammedan geographer, gives other forms of the name Urishalum, Urishbalum, and Shalam. The Septuagint version gives, and I can't read that, as the form of the name, while by the Greeks and Roman writers place it called Hierosolyma, At present, this city is known throughout Western Asia by the Arabic name of El Quds, which signifies the holy. Okay, and down here, just to finish off, Jerusalem was built on several hills, the largest of which was Mount Zion, which formed the southern part of the city. A valley toward the north separated this from Accra, the second or lower city, right? Again, upper and lower.
A lot of things pointing to the city of David, located in Peru, Heru, Jeru, the temple of Heru. Heru becomes Peru, okay? And inside is Hierosolym, Jerusalem, Hierosolym.
So this book is called Egyptian Language, Easy Lessons in Egyptian Hieroglyphics with Sign List by E.A. Wallace Butch. And I was able to find this. As you can see here in the top, it says Heru Kenti Peru, right? Which means Horus, master of temples, supposedly. And then right under that, Heru Kentui Peru, the two Horus gods, master of temples. And right under that, Heru Kenti Ped He Peru, right? It says eternal Horus. So we can see that the word Peru is used in Egyptian language. And I did tell you earlier that, you know, Egypt was on this side of the earth and everything is backwards. So Hiru, right? And also, I saw this in the book and I wanted to show you guys. It looked interesting. It says Heru Shemsu, right? Remember Shem, David of the line of Shem. Shem was given the middle of the earth. Mount Zion is considered the navel of the earth. Cusco is considered the navel of the earth. So just want to show. I'm not sure if it's related, but as you can see, it says a group of mythological beings, the last divine king of Egypt, last divine kings of Egypt. Okay.
It says the ancient city walls around the city of David. The ancient city walls around the city of David refer to the fortifications believed to have once encompassed the city. Believed to have once encompassed the city. What does that refer? That means that it's not there right now, where they say the city of David is. So once encompassed the city, because I'm going to show you where it is still standing. The fortifications that believe that to have been once encompassed around the city, which is the city of David, right? I'm showing you where the city of David in Jerusalem is now. I'm showing you everything was on this side. I know it's a lot to take in, but just go for yourself. You can visit these places. Do observable science. Use your common sense. Don't just listen to what they tell you. Okay? Saksaywaman, city of David, with the Mio, the Muyu, the Citadel that used to be there. Overlooking Cusco, the navel of the world. Two parts. This is the upper part. The lower part is Cusco. The lower Jerusalem, upper Jerusalem.
And it says here, for many years, Saksaywaman has been considered a fortress. Okay, and despite being the scene of a number of bloody battles, recent excavations have revealed a number of sacred objects that have made archaeologists rethink its purpose. If it was an imposing and impressive designed fortress, it was almost certainly a major ceremonial and religious site as well. Okay, so I'm telling you, this is the city of David, right? So the city of David was a military fort and also a very ceremonial major religious site as well, just like Saksaywaman, as you're reading right here. Okay.
It says here, the city of David is an Israeli settlement in the archaeological site which is speculated to compose the original urban core of ancient Jerusalem. First suggested in 1920, the name was used officially from the 1970s following the capture of East Jerusalem by Israel. But today the name is increasingly questioned in the archaeological academic community. So, here we go. The name is increasingly questioned in the archaeological academic community. Why is that? So it says here, Sion, the city of David in Jerusalem. You see the circle, right? Just wanted you to show, see the lines going in and out, those lines. Okay. So it says, David dwelt in the fort called it the city of David. David built round about from Milo inward, 2 Samuel 5:9. In the quote above, it is quite clear that David first captured the fort and called that fort the city of David, but it also had another name. So it says, nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Sion, the same as the city of David, 2 Samuel 5:7. Alright, now, so it's about to get interesting now. I don't know. Hope you guys ain't being bored. Hope you guys are not bored yet. So, city of David, right? Fortification, citadel, right? It had walls. It was fortified, right? It was on Mount Sion, right? So I want to show you this. So this is Saksaywaman site in Cuzco, Peru. Little hill, well, not little. It's overlooking Cusco, right? The city of Cusco, the ancient city of Cusco, and the modern city of Cusco. So this is right over it. They're kind of right together. That whole part in the ancient times was all together, right? So you can see these big megalithic walls, rocks, right, creating a wall. And you can see the zigzag pattern in the wall. They fit perfectly in, zigzag, right? It says the line, look, this is Josephus talking. And pay attention to this because I'm glad I found this. It says the line, so this is still Josephus talking, right? It says the tower and 20 we know. The line must have passed in a curved or zigzag direction from some unknown point on the first wall between the Jaffa Gate and the Charam and Antonian. So this is Josephus, right? Okay, very important. So now again, same site, Saksaywaman. Look what it says here. Saksaywaman looks down on the city of Cusco from the northwest. Again, Josephus writes, while the whole compass of the city, he's talking about Jerusalem, right, was 33 furlongs. Now the third wall was all of it. Wonderful. It was the tower, right? Where was the tower? Cephinius, elevated above its northwest corner. The wars of Jews. Saksaywaman looks down on the city of Cusco, or Jerusalem, from the northwest. The structure with its zigzagging walls describes a fortress.
Alright, so it says here, Josephus' description of Jerusalem. Right, it says, the city of Jerusalem was fortified with 3 walls. Again, 3 walls. Use your senses, people. On such parts as were not encompassed with unpassable valleys. So not all the parts had 3 walls, just some parts. Okay? For in such places it had but only 1 wall. Let's continue. It says, the city was built upon 2 hills. 2 hills, which are opposite to one another, and have a valley. A valley, what do we see in this picture? A valley to divide them asunder, at which valley the corresponding rows of houses on both hills end. Of these hills, that which contains the upper city is much higher, and in length more direct. It was called, accordingly, it says, it was called the Citadel. Okay, the Citadel, by King David. Now look what it says here. Saksaywaman is a citadel on the northern outskirts of the city of Cusco. This is Wikipedia. Again, Saksaywaman is a citadel, just like the city of David. And what is a citadel? Well, Wikipedia says, a citadel is the core fortified area of a town or a city. Okay, a fortified area of a town or a city. So it may be a fortress, castle, or fortified center. Okay, the term is a diminutive of city and thus means little city. So called because it is a smaller part of the city of which it is the defensive core. I guess like they're saying Jerusalem and city of David is one big thing, right? It's just they're separated the two into like 2 little cities or separate cities, but there's one big complex. And where the city of David is where the fortified part is, right? Just like Saksaywaman is where the fortress is, and it's overlooking Cusco, the navel of the world again, just like Jerusalem, the navel of the world, Alright, so let's continue here. It says, in a fortification with bastions, the citadel is the strongest part of the system. Sometimes well inside the outer walls and bastions, but often forming part of the outer wall for the sake of economy. It is positioned to be the last line of defense should the enemy breach the other components of the fortification system. A citadel is also a term of the third part of a medieval castle, with higher walls than the rest. It was to be the last line of defense before the keep itself. Alright, so again, we just saw the description, or we just heard the description of Jerusalem by Josephus, describing the three walls, lower and upper part, and how the upper part is the citadel, or the fortress, the city of David. We read what a citadel is, and just looking right here, it says Saksaywaman, an ancient Incan citadel, just a stone's throw away from downtown Cusco. Okay, so right next to Cusco. High up on the hills, behind the city of Cusco, again, right next to Cusco, right? Higher, the walls of Saksaywaman can be seen from Plaza de Armas. Saksaywaman itself is an old Incan citadel, famed for its remarkable large, dry stone walls with boulders carefully cut to fit together tightly without mortar. And so, if you're into construction and you understand that, imagine. Alright, so let's continue with the presentation. We're going to continue with Josephus describing Jerusalem and what else corroborates with Cusco and Sacsayhuaman. Alright, so I'm just gonna read off this king's page. His name is Hierosolym. Put me on to basically this whole concept. Him and the King Drop and the others teach me to be priestly and all these people. But yeah, I'm gonna read off his page right now. You're welcome to go check his info out. He's got a lot of info that he dug up, so go check that out.
It says, when I read about the Millo out of the book called When Rocks Cry Out by Horace Butler, the writer said finding the Millo would show once and for all which city was truly Jerusalem. The writer showed facts concerning the fortress called the Millo in Cuzco, Peru. This Jerusalem fortress called the Millo is what King David built round about and inward. So David dwelt in the fort and called it the city of David. And David built round about from Millo inward, 2 Samuel 5:9.
Now, since we're starting to talk about the Millo, right? I want to bring your attention to where I think the Millo, in the reference in the Bible here, they're referring to in the city of David is this part in Saksayhuaman, which is where the towers and the most fortified part was, which is called the Muyu Marca, as you can see here, Muyu, which is a round Incan building which is situated within the fortress of Saksayhuaman above Cusco. It was used as a temple of the sun, but became part of a complex of rectangular buildings which mostly still remain today. However, the temple and the two flanking towers were dismantled during the Spanish rule. What remains of Muyu Marca indicates that it was a round building, right, just like the Millo roundabout, with an open central court which had a fountain. And we're going to read that city of David, and where it was located, had a reservoir pool, a fountain as well. The temple had triple walls, okay? The temple had triple walls. Remember that, triple walls. We're going to get into this again. Which were aligned with zenith sunrise and the anti-zenith sunset. Again, triple walls.
Horace Butler also goes into a book called The Itinerary of Benjamin of Tudela, travels in the Middle Ages, who writes, from thence is 3 parasangs to Jerusalem, which is a small city fortified by 3 walls. Okay, 3 walls, Jerusalem. Months later, Horace Butler found another account about 3 walls of Jerusalem. Horace Butler writes that it had failed him to consider that Josephus would have left an account of the walls. When Horace Butler searched Josephus' writings, Josephus writes, the city of Jerusalem was fortified with 3 walls. The wars of the Jews, 541, chapter 4, the description of Jerusalem. Look it up, people. 3 walls. What did we see in Saksayhuaman? Alright, so can we count? 1, 2, and then another one, 3, and it goes like mostly 1, 2, 3. Fortress. Another one, just in case you guys still, 1, 2, 3. Saksayhuaman. Showing that these ancient walls of Jerusalem is in Cuzco, Peru, I came across a location out of the Book of Josephus where he writes, while the whole compass of the city was 33 furlongs, now the third wall was all of it wonderful. Yet was the tower Sephinus elevated above its northwest corner. Again, the wars of the Jews, chapter 4, the description of Jerusalem. It gave a location on the northwest corner. I searched Peru to see if it had walls on the northwest corner, and it did. So now again, same site, Saksaywaman. Look what it says here. Saksaywaman looks down on the city of Cusco from the northwest. It says description, located on a steep hill that overlooks the city. Right, it overlooks the city of Cusco. The fortified complex has a wide view of the valley to the southeast.
Alright, so we just heard from Saksaywaman the description, right? It has a view of the valley, right? Look at this picture. So a view of the valley to the southeast. So if you're in the valley or in Cusco, and we're saying it's Jerusalem, the lower part of it, and you want to look up into Saksaywaman, obviously it's the opposite. So what would it be? Northwest. You would look up northwesternly from Cusco, the lower city, or from Jerusalem, the lower city, to the upper city, or the upper fortress of Saksaywaman, or the upper city of Jerusalem, which is the city of David, or the Citadel. And as I'm also about to show you, also where the city or the palace of Herod was located, in the upper part, in the northwestern part of Jerusalem. Let's take a look at that right now. So, in reference to the walls of Saksaywaman and how they're so closely fit together, all the corners of them, I found this interesting in Wikipedia regarding Herod's palace in Jerusalem. It says here, it was built in the last quarter of the 1st century BC by Herod I the Great, king of Judea, from 37 BC to 4 BC. It was the second most important building in Jerusalem, after the temple itself in Herod's day, and it was situated at the, again, listen to this, northwestern wall of the upper city of Jerusalem. Remember, Jerusalem has two cities, so we're telling you that Jerusalem is Cusco and the whole complex, which includes Saksaywaman, which is the upper part, is the fortress, right? So right here telling you that Herod's palace is in that part of the city where the fortress is right now, same as city of David was located on the northwestern wall of the upper city of Jerusalem. The western hill abandoned after the Babylonian sacking of Jerusalem. It says Herod lived in it as its principal resident. So it says here, continuing with Josephus' description of the palace, right, of Herod's palace. It says, the largeness also of the stones was wonderful, for they were not made of common small stones, nor of such large ones only as men could carry. So he's saying they're not just any big stone that anybody can carry. Not even like these are not stones that anyone can carry. They're so big, they're larger than big, But they were of white marble, cut out of the rock. Each stone was 20 cubits in length, and 10 in breadth, and 5 in depth. They were so exactly united to one another. Again, they were so exactly united to one another that each tower looked like one entire rock of stone, so grown naturally and afterward cut by the hand of the artificers into their present shape and corners. So little or not at all did their joints or connection appear, low as these towers themselves on the north side of the wall. Says the king had a palace inwardly thereto adjoined which exceeds all my ability to describe it. For it was so very curious as to want no cost nor skill in its construction, but was entirely walled about to the height of 30 cubits, and was adorned with towers at equal distances and with large bedrocks, it said. So, man, if that doesn't describe Saksaywaman and the walls that it has, I don't know what else does. So, and it's telling you it had towers, just like Saksaywaman says. Mujumarco, remember, had a tower. All that there was 3.
The account of Francisco Pizarro, brother Pedro Pizarro. It says, on top of a hill So they're talking about they're in Cusco, and then on top of that, right, from Cusco, on top of a hill, the Inca had a very strong fort surrounded with masonry walls of stones and having two very high round towers, right? And in the lower part of this wall, there were stones so large and thick that it seemed impossible that a human hands could have set them in place. They were so close together and so well fitted that the point of a pin could not have been inserted in one of the joints. The whole fortress was built up in terraces and flat spaces. The numerous rooms were filled with arms, lances, arrows, darts, clubs, bucklers, and large oblong shields. There were many morions. There were also certain stretchers in which the lords traveled as in litters. Pedro Pizarro described in detail storage rooms that were within the complex and filled with military equipment. Okay, so that place was no joke. They were ready for war anytime. And David was ready for war anytime. Okay, now remember, we're talking about Saksaywaman here. We're not reading the Bible, but we know that David conquered and he had armies and he was powerful like that, right? Military-wise, he took over the city of David, right? And he had Citadel. He had sent the ark there to take care of because it was protected there. So just like they're saying, there's storage rooms here within the complex and filled with military equipment. It says because of its location high above Cusco and its immense terrace walls, this area of Saksaywaman is frequently referred to as a fortress. The importance of its military functions was highlighted in 1536 when Manco Inca laid siege to Cusco. Much of the fighting occurred in and around Saksaywaman, and it was critical to maintain control over the city. So descriptions of the siege as well as excavations at the site had recorded towers on the summit of the site, as well as a series of other buildings. Okay, so there was towers there, right? There was towers there. They're not there anymore. They took them down, so there was towers there. It says there was buildings with large windows that looked over the city. These structures, like so much of the site, have long since been destroyed. They have been destroyed. It says the large plaza area, capable of holding thousands of people, is well designed for ceremonial activities. Several of the large structures of the site may also have been used during rituals. A similar relationship to that between Cusco and Saksaywaman was replicated by the Inca in their distant colony where Santiago, Chile was developed. Okay? So it says the best known zone of Saksaywaman includes its great plaza and its adjacent three massive terrace walls. Three massive terrace walls. Three. My people, three. Pay attention. Three. Just like how they describe Jerusalem with three walls. The stones used in the construction of these terraces are among the largest used in any building in pre-Hispanic America. They display a precision of fitting that is unmatched in the Americas. The stones are so closely spaced that a single piece of paper will not fit between many of the stones. This precision, combined with the rounded corners of the blocks, the variety of their interlocking shapes, and the way the walls lean inward, is thought to have helped the ruins survive devastating earthquakes in Cusco. The longest of three walls is about 400 meters. They're about 6 meters tall. 6 meters tall, 20 feet. And a lot of the descriptions of the walls of Jerusalem, the city of David, have the same measurement, people. 6 meters, 20 feet. The estimated volume of stone is over 6,000 cubic meters. Estimates for the weight of the largest andesite block vary from 128 tons to almost 200 tons. You see what's over there. Now that's a fort. You can't show me Jerusalem right now and tell me that's a fort, and what they're saying the city of David is right next to it. That needs to be excavated. And it's missing the wall. It's not fortified. I mean, this is still up. They couldn't even move those rocks. That's a fort. So it says, where did all the stones go, right? So it says this: after the siege of Cusco, the Spaniards began to use Saksaywaman as a source of the stones for building Spanish Cusco. Within a few years, they had taken apart and demolished much of the complex. The site was destroyed block by block to build the new Spanish governmental and religious buildings of the colonial city, as well as the houses of the wealthiest Spaniards. In the words of Garcilaso de la Vega, Part 1, Book 7, to save themselves the expense, efforts, and delay and he said, in his words, Garcilaso de Vega, to save themselves the expense, effort, and delay with which the Indians worked the stone, they pulled down all the smooth masonry in the walls. There is indeed not a house in the city that has not been made of this stone, or at least the houses built by the Spaniards. Today, only the stones that were too large to be easily moved remain at the site. Here's a reference of the size of some of these stones, so you can see the lady right there, right? Huge. Huge. See? Heavy fortification. So it says, but David did capture the fortress of Sion, which became David's city. It was a fortress, right? Look at the walls, between the walls. You know, 3 walls. There's 3 walls right here. 3 walls, okay? And you can see how these rocks fit perfectly together. This is a fortress. This is fortified. And before it was like this, there was more rocks on top, more construction. But the Spaniards took out, the littler stones. They couldn't move these ones, so they left these behind. But it was much higher originally. Okay. And this is inside. It's exactly one. Look at it. It's beautiful here. Green grass. Can you imagine this back in the day when the Incas lived there? Okay, so this whole thing is the site of Saksaywaman. This over here is Cusco, right? It's overlooking Cusco. It's higher than Cusco, right? So Saksaywaman, right? All the walls, right? The field over here, the 3 walls, the walls, right? It's a fortress. Saksaywaman, located on the outskirts of the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, it rests on an artificially leveled mountaintop and consists of 3 outer lines of gargantuan walls. 3, 1,500 feet long, 54 feet wide, surrounding a paved area containing a circular stone structure believed to be a solar calendar. The ruins also include 500,000 gallon water reservoir, 500,000 gallon water reservoir storage, cisterns, ramps, citadels, and underground chambers. Underground chambers. So it says here, the upper city or the upper marketplace, the hill, which sustains the upper city, is much higher and in length more direct. Accordingly, it was called the Citadel. It was called what? The upper city was called the Citadel. So, alright, so where was the Citadel? Inside the city of David, right? And specifically with the Milo, where that was located. The roundabout, right? That was the Citadel. Fortress inside a fortress. It was like a tower inside a fortress, So it says, accordingly, where the upper city was, it was called the Citadel, the Forian of King David. But it is by us called the upper marketplace. This is without dispute the southwestern hill. It says here, Accra and Lower Hill. The other hill, which was called Accra and sustains the lower city, was double curved. Amphikurtos. The description can apply only to the semicircle shape of the southern hill, as viewed upon the upper city. These names, Accra and Lower City, are with reservation, therefore, to be applied to the southeastern hill. So again, the southwestern hill, upper city, and upper marketplace. Also, the summary Forian, or Fortress of David. From the 4th century AD, this hill has also been known as Zion, and on it today is the so-called Tower of David. Okay? Tower of David on Zion in the upper city, which is the Fortress of David. Remember, it was the Milo, built on the foundations of 2 herald great towers. It says, chronicle writer Garcilaso de la Vega, okay? wrote that there were 3 towers at Muyumarca, at the top of the walls. These towers were built at an equal distance from each other, forming a triangle. The main tower was erected in the center, and it was a cylindrical shaped one. This tower was called Muyumarca. The other 2 towers were, so one of the towers was Muyumarca, Miyu is a tower, citadel, right? It says Miya, Wikipedia, right? The Miya was a structure in Jerusalem first mentioned in the book of 2 Samuel 5:9 and corresponding passages in the books of Chronicles and the books of Kings. However, it is mentioned as being part of the city of David, and seems to have been a rampart built by the Jebusites prior to Jerusalem being conquered by the Israelites. Okay, the text also described a Milo built by Solomon and repaired by Hezekiah, without giving an explanation of what exactly the Milo was. There is some debate among scholars as to the Milo's specific nature. But down here, this is what is really, we're going to start seeing what it really means, because it says Ezekiel's repair of the Milo is mentioned within a list of repairs to military fortifications. Okay, so they're saying that it's recorded that when Hezekiah repaired the Milo is mentioned within a list of repairs to military fortifications. And several scholars generally believe that it was something connected to the military activity, such as a tower, citadel, or simply a significant part of a wall. Okay, tower. So, Milo, tower, right? Circular, roundabout, inside of the city of David. What our critics failed to notice is that whilst the building was going on, the ark had to be kept somewhere else. It had to be safe, and where safer it had to be safe, and where safer than David's citadel, Sion, the Milo. When the temple was finished, therefore Solomon had the ark brought from out of the city of David, which is Sion. That's in the Bible verse. In other words, that part of the city known as Sion, the citadel. Again, on Wiki visually, the Mayo, was a structure in Jerusalem first mentioned in the book of 2 Samuel 5:9. Corresponding passages in the book of Chronicles and the book of Kings. Okay? It says, however, it's mentioned as being a part of the city of David. The text also describes Milo, built by Solomon and repaired by Hezekiah, without giving explanation of what exactly Milo is. So we start to see what Milo is, right? So it's down here, it's kind of hints to us. Hezekiah's repair of Milo is mentioned within the list of repairs to military fortifications, and several scholars generally believe that it was something connected to military activity, such as a tower, citadel, or simply a significant part of a wall. So Milo was part of the city of David inside, like a tower, citadel, right? Where were they holding the ark and all that? Again, the Hebrew Milo, on taking the Jebusites' citadel, David built the city, Jerusalem, from the Milo, roundabout. Samuel 5:9, Chronicles 11:8. Solomon raised his levy to repair Milo. 1 Kings 9:15, 1 Kings 9:24, 1 Kings 11:27. So Hezekiah, 2 Chronicles 32:5. It was part of the city of David. Septuagint translated Milo, the citadel. Milo, the citadel. So Wikipedia over there tells us they exactly don't mention what it is in the Bible, right? It says it doesn't mention what it is, but it translates in Septuagint as citadel. Probably an Aboriginal term adopted by Israel.
Oh, I had to stop it and just talk about what they just said. So they said the Milo, the word, probably an Aboriginal term they adopted, the Hebrews, Aboriginal. So let's look at this right here. So I'm telling you the Milo, remember, it's what I'm saying is I believe is the Muyu, Miyu, Muyu, Muyu. So the Muyu, right? While today only the walls and the foundations of the Inca buildings remain, the site was home to several impressively large structures, including the Muyu Marca, a 30-meter high tower of three concentric circles that served as an imperial residence. An imperial residence, okay? City of David. There were other towers in Temple of the Sun, but the Spanish looted most of the stones to help build colonial Cusco, forcing today's bewildered tourists to rely on their imaginations. Not just the tourists, but all of us. Alright, because they got us on the other side of the world. Alright, so let's continue reading about Millo.
Probably a tower, it says. Dividing Jerusalem, 2 Kings 12:20. It says probably a tower. For in Judges 9:6, Judges 9:4-6, Judges 9:4-9, Millo is interchanged with Migdal, a tower. The name may mean filling, filled up, completed, the fortification of the city of David. On the northwest corner of the wall, on the slope of Tirothian Valley, where Sion had least height and needed strengthening. So again, in reference to the Millo, on taking the Jehu Citadel, so David built the city from the Millo, roundabout, Millo. Solomon raised his levy to repair Millo. Kings 11:27, so Hezekiel, it was part of the city of David. Septuagint translated Millo, the citadel. So the Millo is the citadel, the tower that was in Saksaywaman, or in the city of David, right? So now, Saksaywaman, right? It says often it is mentioned as Muyu Marka or Muyu Marka in question language, but sometimes it is written as Muyu Marka and even Moyog Marka. So this is a Diccionario Quechua. This is the Quechua dictionary, right, in Spanish. So it says Muyu, huerta, Muyu, redondo, circular, or round, Muyu, right? Muyu, circular, circumference. What does marca mean? So says marca. Okay, so it says marca here. Pueblo, aldea, ciudad. So it means like either town, village, town or village. So round village, the town. So that was like a tower, right? Remember, it was big. It was pretty big. It was square. It had 2 towers. Okay, so it's a village. Okay, so you can see what these words mean.
And it says here, Muyu, very similar word, right? It's again, Quechua, Muyu, Millo, Muyu, circle. The duplication indicates that there is a group or a complex of something. A complex of circles. Also spelled Muyo, or Muyo, is an archaeological complex in Peru. Okay, so what do you see?
This is one of the 3 ruins consistent of the 3 concentric circular walls. Ruins. So they're talking about this right here. The circular thing right on the middle or right on top of the Saksaywaman ruins, like the Muyu. Now watch. This used to be a tower. Let's go back to Millo. So Ezekiel's repair of the Millo is mentioned within the list of repairs to military fortifications, and several scholars generally believe that it was something connected to military activity, such as a tower, citadel. So Millo, many have connected it to tower, citadel. Again, it was a structure mentioned first in the book 259, being part of the city of David, part of it. Okay? It says here, without giving an explanation of what exactly the Millo was, we're going to find out, we're going to learn what the Millo was. So again, the Millo Marca, Millo, why am I called, look at this, Millo, okay? Millo. Now if you go to Millo right here in Wikipedia, it gives you some references, right? So you go to It says, for the mountain Apuramid region, Peru, see Miyu, Apurumac, Miyu. For the mountains in Cusco, Miyu Cusco. Just real quick what it says here, let me show you. Miyu Cusco, Miyu Urku, Murku, Muyuk, Marca, Miyu. Okay, it says Miyu, Hispanicized spelling of Millo. And where is this located? In Cusco. Where is Saksaywaman located? Cusco. Overlooking the city of Cusco. In the Andes of Peru. Peru. So it's a Hispanicized spelling of Millo. Right? Millo. What is Millo again? A structure in Jerusalem, first mentioned in Book of 2 Samuel, in corresponding passages in the Book of Chronicles and Book of Kings. However, it is mentioned as being part of the city of David. And it even says that Hezekiah put it on a list of repairs as a military fortification. He repaired the Millo. He said it was a military fortification. And several scholars generally believe that it was something connected with military activity, such as a tower or a citadel. Right? What was Saksaywaman again? Saksaywaman is a citadel. Northern outskirts of the city of Cuzco, Peru. Are you guys following me? Let's go. So it says it says here, the construction of Saksaywaman. The immense fortress was put together with the uses of huge stone blocks. Nobody knows exactly who built Saksaywaman, and most importantly, how. Machu Picchu can be admired for its great location and splendid views rather than its construction. Saksaywaman can be admired mostly for the remarkable architectural engineering skills that were needed for its creation. The Incas told the Spaniards that they weren't the ones who built Saksaywaman, but the giants. The giants. In their mythology, there were huge people living in the Cusco area, and they carried the huge stone blocks and put them together. Now we remember about the luminary, the angels, the stars, falling and, mating with the daughters and having giants. That's Genesis 6. Alright, so how far-fetched is this? And right now, nobody can build megaliths like this in the world. Nobody can explain them. So, there were giant races, and we're going to make a video on that. That's probably next. So we're gonna make a video on the giant. You'll see how many. You'll see. They exist. All right. All the evidence is out there and everything. Okay. So it says that they told the Spaniards. The Incas told the Spaniards that it was built by the giants. There were huge people living in Cusco area. They carried huge stone blocks and put them together. That's what they said. The city of Cusco was built in the shape of a puma. Okay. Remember in Wikipedia it told us the shape of a lion. Okay. So lion. The head of the puma was actually Saksaywaman. Saksaywaman was a massive fortress of the Incas capable of accommodating 5,000 fighters. Okay? Just like the city of David is a fortress, citadel. Today the complex is in ruins, but we know from chronicles, the words of mouth from local Quechuans, that it was bigger, higher, and even had towers. It had towers. Okay? Back to Millo. Hezekiah's repair of the Millo is mentioned within the list of repairs to military fortifications, and several scholars generally believe that it was something connected to military activity such as a tower or citadel. So they're calling the Millo or the Citadel of David, and they're relating it to Saksaywaman. So you see, it's not just me. Okay, so let's continue here. So it says, this used to be a tower and it's located, so Muyu Marku, Muyu. So remember, Miyu. So remember, Miyu. Or Miyu, with a U, Miyu. Very similar, Muyu Marka. Otherwise known as Muyu Marka. Okay, so it says, there used to be a tower located inside Saksaywaman. Though Muyu Marka is the name of the place, not the tower. Okay, 3 water channels located inside Saksaywaman. 3 water channels were constructed, which were probably used for filling a reservoir in the center of the site. A reservoir, a pool, right? There was a pool inside of David, city of David. Remember the pool and the fountains. So 3 channels were constructed and made a reservoir, a pool inside. Otherwise, not much is known about Muyumarca. So they don't know what it was for, right? This guy either. The exact purpose of it is still not known. It might never be determined. You think it might never be determined? We're waking up and the energy's open now. I think we've broken the spell. So it's time for us to wake up and we can figure this out. You know, we could figure this out. Let's say Saksaywaman was David's citadel or Millo. David built on top of what was already a sun worshiping temple location. It is also written that David is buried here, along with Solomon, near a pool in the north wall of Hierosolym. I have suspicions that this is okay. Hierosolym. So it is written that he was buried there, right? And again, if you read that verse in the Bible, I forget which one it is right now, but we're gonna find it soon probably. We're gonna run into it again. It says that he was buried there. They've never been able to prove it or find it or any kind of archaeological indicating that. And of course, they're not gonna find it if they're looking over there in the Middle East, right? Or Africa. That was Africa. That was Ethiopia. That was Asia. That was India back then. So here we have an aerial view of Saksaywaman, and we're going to show you what the Muyumarca is, right? Let's zoom in a little. It's right on top of a hill. So let's zoom in a little bit more, and we get to the Muyumarca, right? So the Muyumarca, right, is right here. It's this round thing right here. We're going to look at it right now. So it says here, Muyumarca is an archaeological site in Peru. It is round Inca building, a round Incan building, which is situated within the fortress of Saksaywaman, above Cusco. It was used as a temple of the sun, but became part of a complex of rectangular buildings which mostly still remain today. However, the temple and the 2 flanking towers were dismantled during the Spanish rule. So it's telling you right here, Muyumarca was a tower, right? The flanking towers were dismantled during the Spanish rule. What remains of Muyumarca indicates that it was a round building with an open central court, which had a fountain. A fountain. A court with a fountain. A court with a fountain. Just like the city of David, where he lived. The temple had triple walls, which were aligned with the zenith sunrise and the anti-zenith sunset. The Muyumarca consists of 3 concentric circular stone walls connected by a series of radial walls. There are 3 channels constructed to bring water into what many scientists consider to be a reservoir, fountain, or pool. A web-like pattern of 34 lines intersect the center, and also there's a pattern of concentric circles that correspond to the location of the circular walls. Originally, the Muyumarca was a building with 4 superimposed floors. The first body would have had a square floor, the second would have been a cylindrical, the third would have had also a cylindrical shape. The successive would have formed circular cultivation terraces, with decreasing width being the widest at 3.6 meters and the narrowest at 3 meters. The tower would have ended up in a conic ceiling. Muyumarca must have reached a total height of 20 meters. It was an amazing work that generated the admiration of several chroniclers. The Spaniards destroyed it in spite of the protests both from Cieza and the Inca Garcilaso. Okay, you see it? Muyumarca on top. The Millo, right? It was part of the city of David. Roundabout, right? Roundabout. Again, Muyumarca. What remains of Muyumarca indicates that it was a round building with an open central court which had a fountain. Mio, the Hebrew Mio, the citadel of David, built by the city, from the Mio round about to Samuel, Solomon raised his levy, repaired the Mio. It was part of the city of David. Translated Mio, the citadel. It says here in Edicott's Commentary of the Whole Bible, Volume 3, 1 Kings, Esther, in Volume 3. Right, this is a book, it says Mio. Whereas it always has a definite article, the Mio, the Hebrew word seems to signify piling up or heaping up, and its most simple meaning would be a fortified mound. Fortified mound, right? From the mention, however, in Judges 6:20 of the house of Mio, its connection with the men of Shechem, it has been supposed to the Canaanitish word. It's possible that the Mio of Jerusalem may have been the name of a quarter of the old Jebusite city. So this is what it looks like from the top. You see the circular part is the Mio, the citadel, the towers were. It's cool. Seeing what I'm showing you, the little clues they left us, it's in the writings, okay? It's in the writings. The Book of Samuel Milo is mentioned as the boundary of King David's construction while building up the city of David after the capture of Hierosolym from Jebusites.
Alright, so yeah, I just wanted to slow it down a little bit. So yeah, man, if you made it this far, hey, thank you for taking this journey with me, just sitting through this and watching this, and hope it hasn't been boring, hope it's been interesting. So we've been able to see that there's some correlation with the navel of the earth, the middle of the earth, with Jerusalem, Mount Sion, and also Cusco. Cusco means the navel of the earth. We've seen that Jerusalem is described to have 3 walls, 6 zigzag walls. We've seen Saksaywaman has the same exact thing. It's a fortress, just like the city of David. I'm telling you, the city of David is exactly one. It has a citadel, it has towers. The Muyu, the Mio, used to be towers. We've already talked about that. And yeah, so just gonna get into the Jebusites. I know you've heard about the Jebusites a lot so far. So it says how they used to be the ones that were there before David took over, right? And actually, it's funny because the Incas also mention how they were thereafter, and how the Quilque culture, it says on Wikipedia, were there before the Incas. The Incas say somebody else was there. I'll go ahead and show that. And so it's matching with the King David and the Hebrews and the Jebusites, right? It's matching that they took over the city. So here we go about the Jebusites again.
And it says here, now the Jebusites, who were the inhabitants of Jerusalem, or the city of David before, and were by extraction Canaanites. So they were Canaanites, that's what they're saying here.
And just a little more reference to the Canaanites, and what I'm saying is the Jebusites. Well, what the last thing we read said. So it says here, during that time, the 18th century BC, the Canaanites built a massive tower above the Gihon spring. So we're gonna talk about also how all these springs and aqueducts under Saksaywaman, and also the city of Jerusalem, or the city of David, how they had so many pools and reservoirs, just like Saksaywaman. So we're going to talk about that as well. So it says, this spring, since it was the main source of water supply in the area, the tower was connected to the fortified city above the spring. Okay, the fortified city, the tower was connected to the fortified city above. And again, more reference to the Canaanites in Canaan. So it says here, Joshua headed the army of the Israelites during the conquest of Canaan and defeated the king of Shalem, named here as Jerusalem. So you're hearing this? Okay. And his coalition of 5 Canaanite kings. So they've had beef with these Canaanites, the Israelites and the Hebrews. That's their enemies, right? So it makes sense that David would conquer the Jebusites if Jebusites are the Canaanites, right? So let's keep going. Now it came to pass when Adoni-Sedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai. Therefore the 5 kings gathered themselves together and went up. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Joshua chased the 5 Amorite kings down to Azekah. The Israelites slew the Amorites, and God casted great hailstones which destroyed them. Joshua 10:10-11. So it says here, although the king of Shalem was defeated, the Canaanite city stood against the Israelites. During the following 200 years of the judges, the Israelites could not conquer the Canaanite city due to these walls and water supply complex, as per the Bible. So they couldn't penetrate because of the walls. And I'm telling you, this is exactly one, and I'm showing you how big the walls are there and how it was even bigger. That was a fort. So imagine, I mean, and it keeps going here. And the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem. So look, I guess it does corroborate Canaanites with Jebusites. And then we're going to read how now we're going to get to the part where, again, David takes over Mount Zion and turns it into the city of David from the Jebusites.
It says here the conquest of Jerusalem, right? This is the King James version. You can pull out your version, but and the king and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, who spoke to David, saying, "You shall not come in here, but the blind and the lame will repel you." Thinking David cannot come in here, nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Sion, that is, the city of David.
So again, as a reminder, the Inca also, took over Saksaywaman, or the city of David, as I'm telling you, right? It says here the Cuzco people occupied the region from 900 to 1200 prior to the arrival of the Inca in the 13th century. So that's like what, 300 years? You see that? Almost 200 years, just like the Canaanites had Jerusalem, right? So it says prior to the arrival of the Inca in the 13th century. Carbon dating of Saksaywaman, the walled complex outside Cuzco, established that the Quilque constructed the fortress about 1100. Alright, so that's what they're saying. They're giving them the credit. They don't know how they did it, but that's how they're giving them the credit, right? And just to continue with the Inca taking over, it says here in the Cusco mythology, talks about their gods, I guess. Mythology race created by the great god Viricho, who caused them to be born from the sun god Inti. The first 8 Incas were thus born of Tiwanaku Anak, which people say is King Anak in the Bible of the city of Hebron. Alright, future video. Or in an alternative version, they emerged from the sacred Pacaritambo cave, and then they migrated down to the Cusco Valley, led by Manco Capac or Manco Capac and Mama Oclo. It says here, the group fulfilled the earlier prophecy whereby they should settle where the golden staff could be easily driven into the ground. But it says here, important part, before the Incas could prosper though, they first had to defeat their local rivals, the Chanca, a feat they achieved with the help of the stone giants, the Pururaucas. This event did have a basis in reality, as the Incas did indeed defeat the Chanca in 1438 CE. Thus the Inca capital was established. The name Cusco may have derived from the Cusco, meaning dried up lake or bed, but we know it means navel. Cusco means navel in Quechua. Alright, so you see they took over and created Cusco. They took over Cusco, right, from somebody else, just like King David took it from the Jebusites.
It says here, City of David and Zion. It is clear by 2 Samuel 5:7 and 1 Chronicles 11:5 that the Citadel, Zion, of the Jebusites became the City of David, or as G.A. Smith calls it, David's Burg, after its capture by the Hebrews. The argument for placing Zion on the southeastern hill are given elsewhere, see Zion, but a few acts relevant especially to the City of David may be mentioned here. The capture of the Jebusite city by means of the gutter, 2 Samuel 5, which is most recently explained as Warren's shaft, the reference to David's halt on his flight, and his sending Solomon to Gihon to be crowned, on 1 Kings, you can see all the Bible verses, you can pause it if you want, and the common expression up, used in describing the transference of the ark from the city of David to the Temple Hill. So 1 Kings 8:1, 2 Chronicles 5:2, and 1 Kings 9:24 compares as all consistent with this view. More convincing are the references to Hezekiah's aqueduct. So Hezekiah's aqueduct, which brought the waters of Gihon down on the west side of the city of David. So there's a lot of aqueducts and tunnels and waterways, right? These shafts, right? So David told somebody, yo, if you guys can get in through the water, to the shafts, to the aqueducts, and get in and conquer the Jebusites. That would be the way. Now David said on that day, whoever climbs up by way of the water shaft and defeats the Jebusites, the lame and the blind who are hated by David's soul, he shall be chief and captain. Therefore they say, the blind and the lame shall not come into this house. More convincing are the references to Hezekiah's aqueduct, which brought the waters of Gihon down the west side of the city of David. 2 Chronicles 32:30. The mention of the city of David as adjacent to the pool of Shelah or Shiloh, compare Isaiah 8:6 in the king's garden in Nehemiah 3:15, and the position of the fountain gate in this passage in Nehemiah 12:37, and the statement that Menasseh built an outer wall to the city of David on the west side of Gihon in the Nachal, Kingdom Valley. So you're gonna see about this fountain and this water, right? This garden, this pool, this pool inside the city of David. You're gonna see this. The ruins also include 500,000 gallon water reservoir, 500,000 gallon water reservoir storage, cisterns, ramps, citadels, and underground chambers.
So it says here, ancient tunnel discovered under sacred Inca city of Cusco. The tunnel measuring 2 kilometers on left, linking the Coricancha temple with the fortress of Saksaywaman, located on the outskirts of the Peruvian city of Cusco. You see, tunnels that extend all the way to Saksaywaman and the temple of Coricancha. So aqueducts, to get the Jebusite city, yes, very possible. You see that there is a tunnel under Saksaywaman.
It says here, earth navels, right? Again, the Delphi one, such as Delphi or Jerusalem, but in certain cases, the original name of the site containing a translation of the word navel. It appears then that certain sites were given the status during construction. The ancient Peruvian capital, Cuzco, for example, literally means navel. So it's not like the other ones in the earth that are just named navel for spiritual reason or cosmological reason. Cuzco literally means navel of the earth, right? The center. And it acted as such to the Inca Empire during its great expansion. The mythology of Cusco recalls that the city was located by the children of the sun from Tiwanaku according to the pre-designed rituals. So there's an Ophalos in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. The Ophalos of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Jerusalem, represents in Christian medieval tradition the navel of the world, the spiritual and cosmological center of the world, navel of the world. Jewish tradition held that God revealed himself to his people through the Ark of the Covenant in the Temple in Jerusalem. So the Ark of the Covenant, do you guys remember how he needed to hide the Ark for some time in the Citadel, in the Millo? And where is the Millo? We all know, we just studied it. Saksaywaman, that round part, right? The Muyu. So it says, the navel of the world, right? Again, where God reveals himself through the Ark of the Covenant in the Temple of Jerusalem, which rested on the foundation stone, marking the center of the world. So I put Jerusalem, navel of the world, right? I'm on Google. I go down here, and those questions they be asking you, where is the navel of the earth? First thing it says, the capital of the Inca Empire was situated at Cusco, high in the Andes. Tradition states that the city was founded according to geomantic principles. Jerusalem, as the capital of the Holy Land, Jerusalem is called an earth navel. So why are they putting that together like that? 7 wonders of Cusco, the belly button of the world, or navel, right? If you're so lucky as to visit the belly button of the world, that's what the Quechua name of Cusco translated to. You're guaranteed to be constantly surrounded by the magical beauty of this ancient place. It says, if I forget you, Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. Let my tongue stick to the roof of my mouth if I don't remember you. If I don't prefer Jerusalem above my chief joy. Psalms 137, 5, 6. Deep, very deep right there. First time I actually understand this. and we have forgotten about Jerusalem. Jerusalem. You see 3 walls. You see 3 walls right here. Okay, heavily fortified. Heavily. People, shout out to King Drop, Lex Will, all of them, basically waking everybody up, man. Like, there's been truth, speakers and truthers out there, man, but not like on this level, man. This is something else. All right, this is energy, scriptural. This is really connecting and waking up. So,
And before we end the show, I just want to remind you who we've been talking about the whole time. If you see my past videos, you'll know. So again, it says here, a history of the North American Indians and their customs, observations of their color, shape, temper, and dress of the Indians of America. So the very first thing it says here, the very first thing in chapter 1 of this book, it says, the Indians are of a copper or red clay color, copper color, or red clay, dark gray, the red man, right? That's where they get the red man from. But copper color is American, right? A native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. This is in Webster's dictionary, 1828, the word American. Look it up. Now again, since we've been talking about the Inca, right? So it says here, in the Larco Museum in Lima, Peru, there is a photograph of the Inca nobleman and his sons. The painting says here, with the quote from Garcia de la Vega below it. So it says here, Garcia de la Vega, born Gomez Suarez de Figueroa, was an historian and writer from the Spanish British royalty of Peru, the son of a Spanish conquistador and an Inca noble woman. So as you can see, what color are they? They are black or copper colored, because black is just the tag they put on, right? So copper colored, Aboriginal, native, Inca. So my question to you is, so do you remember? Do you know who you are? Thanks to each one that, and all of you that stayed and watched this whole video. Thank you for taking this journey with me. It's been a blessing. Everything, all the learning, everything happens for a reason. If you're here and you've sat through this, it's because you asked for it, and so asking you shall receive. So hope you've had a good time watching this. Hope it's very insightful for you. If it's not, hope it was entertaining at least. I had fun with it. Hope you had fun with it. And thanks for watching. Looking forward to continue to learn together from others. If you have some info, some insight, do your own videos, do your own channel, spread the word. Each one teach one. We all gotta gather. The tribes gotta gather. We gotta wake up. We gotta unite. We gotta reclaim. If you thought it was impossible, look what we're discovering. Shalom.